Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the 86th IREPAS conference in this magnificent city of Istanbul. It is such a pleasure to see so many attendants, not today, but really this morning, after 2 years of COVID break. As usual, what we do is we request you guys to send us questions, and we're trying to get some answers to you, but really the answers should come from the audience here. So what we will do, if you don't mind, we will just put the questions that were sent to us on the screen, and we will put our own comments, but we really appreciate your comments as well. So let's start with the first one. What is the impact of war on EU steel industry, and what would be the knock-on effects on other markets? I guess Willie is best to reply to this.
Well, so far what we see on reinforcing bars is that the knock-on effect did not materialize yet. Russia has been able to import the entire quota in April before the deadline, which is early June. So all orders, existing orders, could still be imported. So Russia has imported only in the month of April around 100,000 tons, which was even way above the quota limit they had, because they were taken out of the so-called country-specific quota. And, well, Ukraine was not really a big asset in regard of reinforcing bars exports to the European community. So there was relatively small amounts. So the knock-on effect is right now that the steel, which was bought before, has been entered, customs cleared, and now we just have to see what is the effect as of July 1st, when the new quota round will be open, and Russia, of course, will not be able anymore to bring any steel into the countries. Where we see a knock-on effect in any case is on finished products such as nails, for example. There are some specific nails produced for the wooden pallet industry, and around 90% of those nails are being produced in Ukraine and in Russia. So both origins are not available anymore, and so this will certainly have an impact. On other products like billets, there is still the ability to import Russian billets and semis into Europe. So also here the knock-on effect is not there. And also China, as we all know, is a big importer of Russian billets. So I think also here there will be a certain shift of trade flow. And but to answer that question, so far we haven't seen a real impact for the long products into the European community.
Where were the billets and the rebar of Ukrainian origin were being exported prior to the war, do you know? Which countries we used to, I mean, apparently not EU, you said, so where were it going?
Honestly, I cannot answer that, where billets are going to.
Not the billets, rebar and wire rod, because they are producer of it. So if it's not going to EU, I know it's not coming to the US.
I think that the Turkish are big buyers of Russian and Ukrainian billets, and I guess Italy is China.
Rebar and wire rod?
Not the rebar, but we've been seeing some shipments of the billets and the slab from China to.
That I heard, yeah.
From Russia or CIS countries to China.
I thought they also produce a lot of wire rod in Krivorog and all that, old Arcelor. Anyway.
Especially for the African market that the CIS countries or Russian used to export. Now those countries start to face to Turkey, and they start to make some businesses with Turkey, including like Finland, Iceland.
I see.
Some of those markets as well.
Okay, let's move to the next question. What do you expect for the future of Russian billet exports, especially in terms of payment difficulties? I think initially, when the war started, there was a panic. And when that panic is gone, they started to continue to export its billets at very, somehow cheaper prices to the countries that don't have any sanctions against Russia. And as far as the payments go, we now understand that there are intermediary countries like Switzerland, Dubai, and also actually China is buying direct. So there is some movement now from Russia to certain parts of the world that doesn't have direct impact. Do you have any other?
That's right. I mean, for example, even to Turkey from Russia, we've been seeing some shipments. And coming to the payment issue, Turkey's been transferring to amount through the Switzerland or the European through the Dubai company mainly. We've been also seeing some approaches from Russia to China as well, and some of them also try to make some settlements regarding the local currency RMB. And I have a statistic, for example, in 2022, Russia exported 140,000 ton billets out of 1.1 million ton. It was 140,000 ton from Russia, also from slab. This year we have seen about 430,000 ton slab from CIS countries to China.
Yeah. No, it's quite known that in China is directly buying and using that as their, cheaper source for their country. Any comments, gentlemen? Okay, I'll go to the next question. Okay, what will be the most challenging, I should say, task for the post-war Ukraine for the rest of the world? I guess the biggest challenge will be the finance to rebuild the country, There's actually, if you remember the Marshall Plan after the World War II that US provided to Europe, I think US and Europe will have to do the same for Ukraine if Ukraine does survive this, to rebuild everything else. And I think the second big issue will be to bring back the refugees or the brain drain that they have lost. This huge amount of intellectual property went from Ukraine to other countries, and to bring them back, you have to make the country, establish, pleasant for them to come back. So that will take time as well. Any comments?
Yeah, it's a very early question, and I think we're still in the middle of this conflict. So I think it's better to answer that if we have the facts on the table and know how this whole thing will end up.
But needs a lot of money.
Oh yeah, oh yeah.
Please.
I'm not wrong, yesterday or the day before yesterday, we have seen that a mill owner in Ukraine.
It looks like a microphone, but it doesn't work.
A mill owner in Ukraine, he said that he's going to file a lawsuit and he's going to ask for compensation for $20 billion.
From?
Ukraine, that they're going to file a lawsuit against the Russians. He said that the Mariupol and the Azov steel destruction that will cost them $20 billion. I guess this is a kind of message that the Russian assets, including the Russian oligarchs' assets, have been frozen in the West. And if they're going to bring this issue to the International Criminal Court, in that case, they're going to ask the compensation rather than being paid by the Western countries, because it's a huge debt, including the debt of the Ukrainian government for the natural gas to Russia. They will make them pay this money.
Okay, it makes sense, but if you think this way, if the Russians really cared for the law, they would have not entered Ukraine. So to sue them, I don't know how far you can go unless they are defeated. Then you can. Otherwise, you can sue them as much as you want. Actually, you can sue them today for what they have done. You can sue them today for killing one person. So you see what I'm saying? And then the oligarch thing is kind of, in my mind, is exaggerated because they're individuals. They're individual companies or individuals who own certain companies in the country. So they cannot be held liable for the government, what the government does. So you have to think about, just like in your country or any other country, just because the US government does something, you cannot come and sue me. I'm only one vote.
But Mr. Baysal, it's the International Criminal Court will give the decision. That's not going to be a compensation of the lives of the people that have been lost. That's the destruction of the country. They will say rebuilding Mariupol will cost $30 billion. Rebuilding Kherson will cost $20 billion. Coming to the other thing, since the start of the war, they seized the Russian oligarchs' personal assets, their yachts, their villas in Spain. So it's worked out.
I know, that's always on the news, and I always thought that is a joke because the yachts and villas, whatnot, I mean, keep in mind, when they have the yachts, Russians have our planes. We lease them and they keep it now. So it's not like that easy. And besides, like I say, if there's really a enforcement of the law, because when you have a decision, you have to enforce it. So enforcement of the law is an issue because we can't enforce it today. What makes you think we're going to be able to enforce it after the war? Unless they accept and sign a treaty, and the treaty they accept all the liability. During the treaty, what they sign, what is said, will be the one that is going to govern.
Yeah.
At least what I think.
Yeah, I think Mr. Wilhelm Alf made a correct statement. It's too early to make a comment on this, but we see the signals. Maybe this is because to pressurize the Russians to come to the table to make an agreement.
Hopefully.
That's what we all hope.
Okay. The next question, please go ahead and read. I won't read it. It's quite long. So we'll comment on it. Basically, it's saying that the scrap prices were 500, around 500 before. After the war, it went up to 650. Now it's down to low 500s. You know, actually it's lower. It's like 450. And it says, considering this ups and downs, where do you expect the Turkish scrap market ahead, or the scrap market actually? Turkish scrap does govern the world scrap market. Is there any room for the price to decrease? Like I say, I think that today the prices are even lower than 450. Can it go down? The answer is yes, it can always go down. And if you look at the recent historic prices, they were in mid-300s, so it can. But today, considering the shipping cost, the gathering difficulties, and the war, I believe we're at the bottom of the curve for now. So at least I don't think that the prices will decline any further from this point on. What do you think, Willie?
Yeah, first of all, Turkey has to follow the world market on the scrap. So if the world market goes down, they will buy at a lower number. But if the world market goes up, they have to pay more. We have just learned this morning that there is even an initiative from in Europe, to limit exports of scrap as a waste, which is an absolute disaster.
Can that really happen? That's crazy.
I heard this now for the third or fourth time, and in the beginning I was really thinking it is a joke, but it seems there are some people behind pushing this. Well, to secure this material domestically in, let's say, in Europe, and not to export it, although it's crazy because we export much, much more than we really need ourselves. So,
right.
But they want to limit it to 50% or something like that. But yeah, if this is going to happen, yeah, then the Turkish scrap prices will definitely go up because they have less competition.
And the European prices will go down. So the
will probably go down, exactly, because there will be too much material available.
Sure.
So it's a new trend. I hope it will not materialize and someone will be clever enough to skip that idea. But yeah, other than that, I mean, we know that there is a safeguard in America, there is a safeguard in Europe on Turkish rebars and Turkish products in general. So yeah, the ability to buy scrap at each and every price has a limit because they have to sell to those markets which are still available for them. And these high-priced countries like America and Europe are not available. So yeah, scrap prices will be the key issue for the Turkish industry to find other places for their products and to stay competitive. So they will definitely work on the scrap prices to get them down as much as possible, but saying that other countries like America and the European community can pay more for the scrap. So the Turks are really in a squeezed situation, and I think that's the reason why a lot of mills are running with only 60 to 70% capacity these days. On top.
What do you think?
One of the reasons that the scrap prices came down from the level of $650 to the $450 because there were not sufficient demand. Because in the end of the mills, as we all know, the reason that they buy the raw material to produce and to sell it. But the main problem that the producer, whatever they produce, whether rebar, billets, hot roll coils, cold roll coils, they've been having the same problem. The problem that they have, a common problem, is selling part. Since their purchases doesn't get any support from their sales part, then the raw material, the only thing that is left for the producer, push the raw material down. So it's in the $450. Of course, there's some resistance from the scrap supplier. They've been putting some arguments saying that their collection fee keeps on increasing and their flow to their scrapyard is getting less, you know, day by day. They're talking about even 20%, 30% less in the local market collection. But we all know that at the end of the day, the most important thing is rather than the cost or rather than buying the raw material price, is the most important thing is the sales part of the business.
But I really don't think that the scrap people are squeezed in any way. I mean, I think they made a lot of money. Now they're going to make even more money. But at $450, they're still making money. I don't believe they're squeezed. They just go with the market. But any comments from you guys? All right, we'll go to the next question. Well, you go ahead and respond to this one.
Yeah. Well, in this case, we predict that the inflation will, or it will have an inflational factor because the increase of 50% on iron ore and pellets is of course enormous, and this will lead and go through the whole supply chain. So in the end of the day, the finished product will be more expensive than it was before. So, and this will have another impact on the worldwide inflation we see already. And well, the big winner, of course, will be the Indian state making cash.
Yeah. You have any comment?
I mean, actually, the reason that all we know, India, they decided for the export taxes is just to keep the material in the country, to increase the supply of the material, availability of the material in the country, and to keep the prices down locally. But by increasing 15%, I'm talking about for the long product or hot roll coils, for the cold roll coils, they try to export their inflation to the other countries by increasing the 15%. But we all know that we face the same thing in China. Such a countries like China and India, they cannot stand without any export. So they all need to find a solution, like China, adding the boron, 0.08%, and they exempt it from the tax. Then we strongly believe that this is what India is going to do, because we have already started to receive some reaction.
Are they doing it, or you think they're going to?
As long as you accept this, they are ready to do it, to exempt it from the taxes.
Yeah.
Because another
the
point,
finished product, you mean?
Even for the finished product, because the issue is, I mean, within a 1 month time, the monsoon raining is going to be in India. So which means that their local market is going to be very, very quiet. And they need to export their material.
So you think there will be boron added to hot rolled coil?
Yes, like China is doing.
Okay.
In order to export.
Yeah. One thing I noticed that even the graph that you had in this morning, India produced only less than 3% of the iron ore in the world market, I should say. So for that, really, what they do within their country does not make a whole lot of difference. Iron ore is controlled by Australia, and Brazil.
Yes.
So India goes up and down or limits it. It's a temporary effect from what I see. Okay. Well, this one question keeps coming. Please, you had a question? No, okay, you said hello. All right, that's fine. And okay, billets versus scrap for the electric arc furnace and an electric arc furnace versus the blast furnace in terms of production costs. What do you like for the next 6 months? I guess they're trying to understand which one is favorable if the country has the options. Now, the thing is, you probably saw that this morning on the presentations as well. Countries like US is predominantly almost 70%, scrap-based, and so is Turkey, actually very high percentage. So countries like Turkey or US, we don't have a choice to go from one to the other. Now, the only country that I know has actually mills that can go from back and forth, or they have both productions and they choose which one to go, is China. And China has the option to do it, so they can like or dislike something, but they can do that. And if you look at today's price, when iron ore is like $131 dollars per metric ton, and the scrap is, let's say, $450, it seems like if you have the option to produce from both resources, obviously, iron ore makes more sense. But of course, to be able to have a blast furnace, you have a huge capital investment if you had done that already. Any comments?
Yeah, and the energy costs, of course, are also extremely high these days. So honestly, I would favor more to be a billet user for the next months to come, because I think there will be more billets available, especially from Russia and eventually Belarus. So I think the availability will be higher than the availability for scrap these days.
Quite possible, yes.
Oh, I see. So you think that, forget the scrap, you're going to use billets coming from?
Yeah.
That's interesting. Any comments, gentlemen and ladies? Okay, we'll move on. All right, the next questions are on China, and we have the expert here, so it's good. It seems that China will continue to implement zero COVID-19 pandemic in the future. How do you think this will affect its economic development and the steel market?
I mean, as we all know right now in China, unfortunately, we've been seeing the lockdown since almost 65, 70 days. people, especially in Shanghai, is not even allowed to step out their houses. Even the dustbin that they have, they are not allowed to throw it away. And they have a limited supply of their needs, including sometimes water.
But you were saying that this is related to Shanghai around.
Mainly Shanghai. Shanghai is the most affected area. I mean, when we talk to our headquarters, they're talking about 40 cities having the COVID, the protection, isolation.
That's all Germany.
So since the COVID restriction is going, so it's affecting the economy. I mean, from the downstream to the upstream is getting seriously affecting. One of the hit was for real estate sector. The production, it came down in China about 10%. Consumption came down by 9%. So import came down by 11%. So it's affecting the social life along with our steel business as well. Yeah. The freight keeps on increasing due to the congestion in Shanghai. Yeah. People are talking about 130, 150 vessels are in the...
How do they manage loading those vessels if these guys stay home?
I mean, this is not in Shanghai area.
Shanghai is a big port.
It is, but mainly the industrial area is in north part of China, like in Hebei area, Tianjin, Tangjiang. So most of I can say 95%, even we don't have any single shipment, at least from Shanghai area, all from the north area. But although they are all coming from north area, we are also facing a very serious problem. The problem that we've been facing, nothing to do with the port. You can berth the vessel can wait, but the problem is to deliver the cargo from the factory to the port is a really serious problem. And the thing is, they stop the trucks, they make them return back to the factories. They are not allowing trucks to go to the port. And same as for the mills as well. When they want to buy the raw material, they cannot deliver the trucks even. So it's affecting also their production. So it's slowing down the shipments. But what we do is whenever we see any opportunity, we deliver all the cargo at the same time to the port. Believing that if we face anything tomorrow that is any road is going to be cut, then at least we delivered all the cargo to the port, make the shipments ready for the vessel.
Well, I know that the pipe production was concentrated in Wuxi, Shanghai area, so that probably is heavily affected.
Probably.
Because, and Wuhan, I don't think if Wuhan is affected.
No.
I see. It's tough. And is easing right now, or is there any ease, or is it continuing?
I can clearly say that we don't have any shipments that, because of this restriction, happen that we cannot load it. We have loaded all of our cargo, and on the time. Even some of the shipment, even 1 month before the shipment time, just to make sure not to face any problem later on. So we try to deliver the cargo as quick as possible.
Mm. So it's a miracle.
It's a
Even
miracle.
no delays. He's saying no. He's saying he's...
Hefty charges, freight charges.
The freight
charges.
Freight. Okay. The thing is, sure. In the beginning of February, when we're talking about 50,000 ton of vessel, in the beginning of February, when we make a sales to Turkey, we were calculating $70 freight for 50,000 ton bulk. Then end of March, it became $120, $120, $130. Now, our calculation, $90, $100, same 50,000 ton vessel.
And a few years ago, it was probably $30?
$30, yeah.
$30.
So there you go.
Yeah. From From Middle East, also I can give you the freight idea from Middle East to Southeast Asia is $55, $60. Still having the advantage about $35, $40 compared to Turkey.
Yeah.
Can you give those figures again from Middle East to Far East?
To Southeast Asia, you can consider Singapore, Hong Kong, $55, $50,000.
But Hussein, would you say that because of the negative impact to the economy in China, that China will be forced to go more aggressively into exports over the coming month? Because domestic...
But if they have not been producing, that means they don't have the product to...
Yeah, but they have increased already. I mean, they went from 3.5 million tons export in April to 5 million tons, only in one...
The thing is, this year in 2022, the export came down by 28% compared to last year. So there is no, of course, they will like to export, but in the end of the day, now we don't see the demand that we used to see, for example, last month.
Demand in purchasing
Demand
Chinese
of
product?
export.
For the export market.
Export of China, for export of China.
Well, actually, something you said this morning is very interesting. You said that they're going to push $5 trillion or yuan in equal to dollars into the market. That's huge. That's a huge stimulus. And if they do that, then they're going to create their own market.
Actually, I'm sure that we will be all experience this kind of things early in our previous business life. So what we used to talk earlier is, for example, when there is no demand from US, at least we used to have the demand from Europe, or at least we used to have a demand from Middle East or Southeast Asia. But I can say that all the markets are paralyzed. There is no sufficient demand. The main reason that all the markets are having some common problem is the finance. Since the money has been, especially starting from 3rd and 4th of May of Central Bank of US, increasing the interest rate, and the money start to draw from the market. So this is the main problem that we see in all the international markets, and their local currency keeps on increasing, including China.
Okay, I'll go to the next question. How do you see the future development of China steel sector given the recent rise in the Chinese imports of low-price steel from Russia?
Okay, China has been also importing from Russia as well, especially in 2000. The billets that China imported is 9.43 million ton in 2021. And this year, up to March, China imported about 2 million ton of billets. Out of 1.2 million ton of billets imported is 140,000 ton only from CIS.
It's nothing.
That's right. But we start to see, after March, we start to see more approach from CIS countries to export to China. Even for slab, also, China imported this year in 2022 is about 800,000 ton. So half of that quantity is coming from CIS.
But even if you go to 1 million ton in a country that produces
China.
1 billion ton, it's insignificant in my mind.
That's correct.
Okay. All right. I guess the next section, they have some questions on Turkey. And this, again, one of the long questions. Please read it, and we'll try to comment on it. Basically, the question is asking, or actually telling us that the Turks are haphazardly producing too much steel, and who's going to stop them? Don't they have the Steel Association monitoring this? I mean, look, Turkey has a free economy, okay? So in a free economy, no association or nobody can say you can do this or you don't. In a free economy, if you make the wrong choices and produce overcapacity, you're going to lose, and if you lose eventually, you'll close those factories. So, you know, yes, the projections can be true, but of course in Turkish industry, you either pay taxes to the government the first year or you invest. And it makes more sense for them to invest, and Turks love to invest, and that's why they have the newest mills, and they're building something new every day. Now, it is going to replace something, but maybe it's going to replace the old mills in Europe or in other parts of the world. What do you think, Hans?
Yeah, I mean, the Turkish steel industry is almost entirely in family hands, and it's privately owned. And I mean, if the private family or the private person just decides, okay, I want to build up a new factory for whatever, he's just doing it if he has the funds and the financing for it. And I think we've also always seen, especially here in Turkey, that yeah, the good one will be eaten by the better one, and but still there is sufficient room. The people are extremely flexible. They have always been able to find markets, and they also found their niches. And so I think it's nothing for an association to say what an entrepreneur should do.
I agree. Yeah. And one of the things is in steel business, we're all looking for a good market conditions that, you know, end of the year, our aim is to make some, you know, good balance sheet. But whenever we have a good balance sheet at the end of the year, the following year is always coming up with the new investments.
Yeah. Any comments from some of the Turkish traders? Do you think Turkey is producing too much? There are 40 million tons, right? Now,
yep.
From
40 million?
30, 40,
yeah.
Yes.
Yes. Yes, and okay, well, if Korea is not producing too much, why should Turkey be producing too much?
Is not.
People are just looking at it from one point of view. You know, you're saying, why is Turkey doing this? Well, why is Korea doing it? Why is Japan doing it, you know? And really, why is US adding so much capacity? We were, if you go back to Trump years, and his main thing was, hell, we just don't have, you know, we can't utilize our capacities, we have nothing, so we need to put the 25% and have our guys work so our mills can operate. Well, suddenly we're building a lot of new mills, we're adding capacities, so you know what, it's free economy. If they have made the wrong choice, eventually they'll suffer. You know, so I don't think we should, or anybody should tell you to build or not to build. It's your decision, your money. Turkish long steel producers have few chances to sell to USA and Europe due to protectionism measures. Which alternative markets are they targeting? Well, maybe first I should ask the audience, because there are some Turkish traders here. What do you think? Where's Turkey going? Please? I'm sorry, I couldn't hear you.
North Africa, South Africa, and Vietnam. That's what I heard.
Vietnam and?
South Africa, North Africa.
Makes sense. Makes sense. Any other comments?
I think Israel.
Let me put some comment. The shipments to US is, although there is some tax issue, but the Turkey is still selling to US. And
very little.
Alternative,
very little.
There's an alternative market is one of the main market of Turkey. I'm talking about for the long product is Yemen, Israel, and also one of the desired market is Southeast Asia, such as Singapore and Hong Kong. But unfortunately, nowadays, they are not the option for Turkey, because since the price is coming down in China, also affecting the Southeast Asia prices, the Southeast Asia producers also, they are alternative for those Southeast Asia countries, and also we should not also forget Middle East producers as well. So,
and I can say from our part of the world, Turkey can still go to Canada and South and Central America. Although the economies there are not doing great, but I think the Turks can replace the Chinese going into South America and Central America. Central America and South America has been dominated by the Chinese, but now that they have the shipping problems and they have internal problems or internal because of the COVID and whatnot, so Turks can easily go to Central South America and Canada. Of course, U.S. is an open market, but we have the barriers of anti-dumping, then the COVID, 232. We have enough barriers. If you can jump them, all of them, you can come to States too.
I mean, what comes on top now for the Turkish as a new challenge is, of course, those markets where they were active and which do not follow the sanctions against Russia. So these countries, of course, will be now targeted by Russian mills, and then the Turks probably won't be able to compete.
Well, I know you cannot go to Canada, but they can probably go to Central America. You're right.
Africa,
Africa,
Far
for
East,
sure.
Yeah.
They've been to go there anyway. Yes, it makes sense. Okay, well, then we have certain miscellaneous questions, and the first one is, what consequences do you expect from the recent amendments in import and export policy in India? Will anybody benefit, apparently? You can probably answer that.
okay. So when we summarize the new tariff of India, as you know, especially for the coal and the coking coal, coke, semi-coke, and nickel, the import of the duties is zero. It used to be 2.55%, 2.5, but it became zero. The main right now, the big decision has been taken on the iron ore. From 30% is gone to 50%. Iron ore pellet from 0 to 45%. And for the rebar, wire rod, hot rolled, cold rolled, all from 0 to 15%.
15?
15.
So rebar as well?
15 as well. 15, yes. So, but there is no export duty on the billets and the slab. So they are freely export billets and the slab without any tax. Normally, when the country is implementing the tax, the reason the tax, they usually put the tax on the raw material or semi-product in order to not to export any steel material without any value added. But here, the issue, the raw materials or the semi-products are allowed, such as billets and slab with the 0, but the product is 15%. So
makes no sense.
Doesn't make sense.
No.
Well, I'm sure the Indian authorities are thinking something that we don't think about. They must know something that we don't.
No.
Please.
I have a friend who's in...
You have
I have a friend, I have a colleague who's a steel journalist, and he explained me, because the Indian mills were offering the HRC more expensive to the domestic market than the export markets, including GCC. And as you said during your speech, the monsoon season is coming mid of June, and it will go to the north throughout the summertime, and the domestic consumption will go down. Of course, India is not a banana state. Definitely, they're not going to step back from this decision immediately, but take into account the third quarter quotas will be renewed in Europe, plus the domestic consumption will go down. This was a signal for them that the government can take this action. But we also know that from the context that who took this decision, they haven't even consulted in the Ministry of Finance. For this reason, the Indian mills applied to the Ministry of Finance, and they said, we have got previous orders from April, from May, to be shipped in June. If you're going to put these export taxes, we have to pay 300 million US dollars, and then the government made a statement that they are taking into consideration that they will make an exemption at least for the letter of credits that have been issued prior to this law. So beneath this decision, definitely there is a logic. It's because just to let them know that they're not going to allow to rise the inflation in the country for the white goods, for the automotive industry, that they have to offer to the domestic markets, at least not higher than the export markets. But I agree you that with the start of monsoon season, as the domestic consumption will go, the renewed quotas, as they need also foreign income, they're going to at least lower these rates.
Because whenever the monsoon raining season is starting, we always see India is very aggressive in the export side.
Now they're blocking it.
More aggressive than even China.
15% is a serious number.
It is.
Yeah, and the hot rolled coil.
Included, yes.
Yeah. But of course that will help them sell pipe, because the domestic producers, India is a serious pipe producer. We buy a lot of pipe from India. So that means the pipe producers will have a cheaper source for hot rolled coil, which will reduce their prices for the pipe itself to our export.
I would like to make one comment here.
Please.
For the steel products, the export tax actually is valid for material without boron, meaning that alloyed hot rolled coils, cold rolled coils, or galvanized are not subject to export tax under this new rules in India. So which means that I think it is a problem in European Union for most of the customers to have boron added material, but it's not a problem at all for all the big buyers in Middle East, Asia, Turkey, or Egypt. So I don't think it will have a big impact at all on the export side of India. They can easily continue exporting these products without any problem, so without an export tax. But of course, this decision will have an impact on their domestic market to control the inflation and to limit the prices there. But on the product side, I don't think it will have an effect at all.
Thank you. Any other comments? This is another long question, and this comes to you anyways, European question.
So, yeah, just read the question. So, well, Finland and Sweden are part of the European community, so they are already blocked by the quotas which Europe has put as a safeguard, and as a country-specific quota for Turkey. Of course, these two countries are falling under that. So, beside that, these markets are relatively small and are not really, in my opinion, a challenge for the Turkish steel industry. Iceland, honestly, I have no idea what even the capacity is there. And it's also not around the corner, so I think logistics to a country like that without any back cargo is also quite an interesting challenge. So Norway, well, Norway is certainly possible. I don't know whether, Norway, in my opinion, is not following the safeguard. So Turkey definitely can export to Norway, but also here you have a very limited market of a few million inhabitants with an industry which is quite modern and state-of-the-art. So there is not a huge infrastructure or production or housing going forward. So it's a limited market, and I don't think this will be of any.
They can buy from the Baltic states, right?
They have bought from the Baltics, but there is also a producer in the country which is Celsa. And Celsa is not only producing rebars, they are also the biggest fabricator in the whole region from Norway.
Norway?
Yeah, Norway, Sweden and Finland. Honestly, the role for Turkey over there is extremely, extremely limited.
Okay, any comments, gentlemen? I think I'll pass this one. Okay. Due to congestion in Shanghai port, African buyers divert some of their inquiries to Turkey. Do you think Southern Europe mills might offer competitive prices in Africa under the higher production costs? I mean, European prices are so high, I don't know how they can offer to Africa competitively. So in my mind, it's zero possibility, but
yeah.
You can comment.
I agree.
No, I see it the same way. I mean, the European price level is extraordinarily high compared to the rest of the world because it's ring-fenced and yeah, the margins of the mills in these days is at an astronomically high number, which we have never seen in history of steel, I think. So no, the mills will use this time they have while the safeguards are still in place to sell everything they can within the European community, do a little bit of export here and there, but it's really meaningless, and so then they rather go and reduce the capacities than to ship
and
at low price to Africa.
And Hussein, you would know because Shanghai is not, like you said, Shanghai is not the only port to export from.
Exactly.
And I am assuming that China is still exporting to Africa, correct?
They do. I mean, Africa is one of the regular market of China. I mean, we've been also selling to China, and our shipments is going on for all kind of the steel, but mainly not for the rebar. Rebar is also option only. One of the main option is Turkey. But the thing is, yes, we have seen that the demand came from Africa to Turkey, but not the main reason of the Shanghai port, but the main reason of the Russian and the Ukraine war, because those are the countries, the regular market for Russia and Ukraine. So that was one of the reasons.
Okay. So it's not the China, but it's the Russia.
Which
okay.
I don't see it, no.
Okay. Any comments from the audience? Okay. I think we have the last question. Okay. What is your forecast and outlook about construction market demand supply balances in each major region of the world for the second half of 2022? All right, they're giving the Latin America, Central America, Europe, Middle East, Africa, and Southeast Asia. I mean, I can speak for Latin America. It's there's a demand basically in Latin America is slow right now, and for what's going to be happening in the next 6 months, I don't think there will be any movement up. So Central America, there's serious growth in Mexico because Mexico is basically selling to U.S. In fact, Mexico is doing really well, but Mexico is self-sufficient, plus they are the major exporter to the U.S. In fact, they have zero duty, they have anti-dumping, but very small in certain items, but 0232 duty. For that reason, they have a huge advantage, and they even rail things all the way to Chicago nowadays. So they're active, and I think they're doing fine. I guess that's my side. You can go ahead and talk about Europe.
Yeah, on Europe, what we have seen is a drastic increase in the rebar price over the last month when the war started. It was let's say, the toilet paper effect, as we call it. Everybody was believing material may become short, so a lot of companies started to call off much more material than they really needed. So the knock-on effect was that all the cut-and benders were extremely busy. Projects have called off material already 4 months in advance, just because they were afraid and wanted to secure this cargo. So this has led to a price increase, quite a dramatic one. We had in the peak up to 1,500 euros for rebars on a spot market. But we've seen now over the last couple of weeks, 3 weeks to 4 weeks, we see that the project business is coming almost to a standstill, and that has various reasons. Firstly, the cost, project costs almost increased by 30–40%, in some cases even up to 50%. And it's not only on rebars, it's the whole products you need for a building or for a investment. So copper pipes, wood, plywood, insulation, and all these products were extremely expensive and extremely difficult to get. You know, there is a lot of a huge lead time on some products, and so there are investors who are just saying, especially the private ones who could take the decision, they said, well, we take a break and we will delay this project because it's simply not attractive anymore, it's too expensive and too many question marks. So we have seen now in the last weeks that in almost every European country the consumption really dropped, and on new projects, but still the cut and benders are busy like crazy. All the projects which have started are moving on. So we will see an effect probably by end of this year, early next year, when the current jobs are finished and new jobs are not sufficiently available. And then we will probably see also a drop in the consumption at the cut and benders. But that does not necessarily mean that we see a price drop, because we have seen that this ring-fenced situation in the European community with a safeguard plays extremely well for the local mills. The imports which are coming in are really overseeable. Now with even Russia being out, a big player also disappeared. Belarus is out, another player disappeared. So the amount of imports is not big. It's relatively small, and so the local mills have learned with this safeguard very nicely to keep the prices at a nice level by reducing the offers, reducing the availability and capacity, and so we believe that the prices in Europe will stay at a nicely level, way beyond.
I want to talk about something that is not that was not within the questionnaire, but I think it's a big issue for United States, and I'm assuming probably for Europe as well, and I don't know for the rest of the world. We have a major labor shortage. We don't have people, we don't have enough people who are willing to work. So on the construction sites, we don't have workers. On the ship, on the ship side, we don't have enough longshoremen who wants to discharge our cargo. We don't have truck drivers. I mean, we have cargoes that arrive to the port, and it waits there days, months, sometimes, some months, I'm not joking, months, for the cargo to be transferred to the final destination. That is one of the reasons that you hear about the congestion at the ports. It is congestion because we don't have truck drivers. And this all started with Trump really limiting the inflow of immigration into the country. So that started the problem, and now we have a serious shortages. From what I understand, Great Britain has similar issues because of most of the people of European origin, or their Polish drivers, I should say, left the country, so they have the same problem. And I don't know how it is for the rest of the, European continent.
At least for Germany, I can just confirm what you just described. So we have an enormous lack of workers in all sorts and all fields. Friends of mine has a shop he's doing I call it sanitary things. Yeah, so he has 10 people working, and for the last I think 2 years, he does not find any new one. He wants to hire more people because he has a lot of things to do. He cannot find anyone to join his company. And he's paying good money, real good money, but they all want to become influencer or whatever, but nobody really wants to work.
Actually, for everyone that's graduating today in America, they had 3 offers. It used to be 3 guys would get 1 offer. Now, for every graduate today in 2020, there are 3 offers. So it is a serious problem. And I don't know how it is in China, but then they can't get out. So
exactly.
Yeah, we have this pyramid of age, and this is clearly against us. So every year, for years now, more people are going into pension rather than new people are going into jobs. And
I think this has a lot to do with the money that they throw in the market. There's so much money, these people don't want to work anymore. They can just sit there and wait for the government to give them. Actually, we have so many problems in the US, one of which is the baby formula. I don't know if you guys heard about it. It's funny, in a country like US, we don't have baby formula. This is the milk for special, milk powder to feed the babies. We don't have them. We don't have them. It's so bad that stores don't have them. So our president created the special plan. So we sent 2 military planes to Germany to get some baby powder. It is crazy. Really, where we are now is crazy. So we're talking about the steel prices. I think this whole thing is, we have a problem on the globalization, that good trading that we had in between the countries is slowly fading, and everybody's working on their own safeguards, or their quotas and things like that, which is creating a futuristic problem. It's all the things that we Americans preached for free trade and WTO. We created WTO for all that. And now that all that is pushed aside and everybody wants to create their own and manage their own. It's sad where we are now, I think,
Okay, when we talk about Middle East.
Sure.
Yeah, please.
Okay, the Turkey, as you know, the Turkey was dominating Middle East market mainly for the long product, even rebar, billets, merchant bar, profile sections. But nowadays we only see some few inquiries or the deals for the merchant bar and profile. But I can say that the rebar deal is 0. And also billets mainly is not coming from Turkey to Middle East. So Middle East market mainly is getting the source from China and from India mainly. I can say for flat product, not for rebar. We don't see much rebar import to that country because Middle East actually became a net exporter of the rebar, plus billets. So things also changing in Middle East side as well. So regarding Africa, Turkey has been doing some regular businesses for the rebar, even for the billets for the North Africa as well. but also we've been selling from China the flat product to Africa. Southeast Asia, we are one of the biggest suppliers to Southeast Asia regularly, but right now our main sources is from Southeast Asia or from Middle East. At the moment, unfortunately, as being a Turkish person, we would like to do the business from our own country, but unfortunately, now since the prices are not matching Turkey, is another option for us as a sources.
I see. Thank you very much. Let's not limit ourselves to the questions that was sent us before. If anyone in the audience have any questions that you want us to discuss among us, not us only, please let us know. I know we have taken so much time in the morning, so we rushed it for you guys. But if you don't have any questions, we'll adjourn. All right, let's adjourn. Well, thank you very much for coming.
Thanks so much.
I do appreciate it.